Hey everybody, welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm Belinda Sandor, your host. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm Belinda Sandor. I am your host. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I am the founder of the VA Connection, where I coach and mentor established and aspiring virtual assistants to create, grow, and scale their businesses. And I work with my students in my free online community, my courses, and coaching programs. So today I'm going to be your host for Lessons from the Cockpit, where I'm going to share tactical and practical advice for your businesses. And these tips are for you if you're just starting out or you've been in business for a while. So I'd love to hear where you're coming in from. So let me know in the comments. All right. So we are streaming live everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. And if you are watching us on YouTube, I would love it if you would click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll be notified every time we go live. All right. Good. So today we're going to talk about healthy boundaries. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with. And we're going to talk about why they struggle, how to end the struggle, all the things. All right. So before we dive in, let me just introduce myself for a minute. This is me and my daughter, Emily. This was us about 13 years ago when I just started my path as a virtual assistant. And she's 22 now, hard to believe. So I started my journey as a VA at kind of a crazy time. It was definitely an uncertain time. And I had a lot up in the air. That's probably a oversimplified way of saying it, but I had a lot up in the air. I had kind of blown my life up. I had all these plans for 50. My plans were, be happily married, be a homeowner, have retirement underway, all savings, all of those things. And instead I found myself very unhappy, getting a divorce, single mom, selling my home because I hadn't been able to pay the mortgage. I mean, just complete turmoil. And so that was kind of a crazy time to start a business. But I think because everything was so crazy that I was able to lean into it and figure out how to focus and figure out how I was going to make this work, because I wanted to work from home. I didn't want the pressure of having a job, having the boss right outside the door. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, because that's part of being a VA. And so I decided to do admin work even before I knew what a virtual assistant was. Because remember, this is 2010, right? And the world is a very different place. People didn't work from home. But I thought about it and I thought, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to try to figure it out. So I started telling everybody I know, just like I tell you guys to tell everyone you know. And one day at the school bus stop, one of the dads said, "What's new?" And I told him, I want to help people doing admin work. I want to work, I want to work from home. And his whole face lit up. And I didn't realize that he had started a new business. I thought he had a job. And the interesting thing about that is that I am pretty sure that if I knew he had his own business, I probably wouldn't have said anything, because I would be afraid that it would be awkward and he would think that I was trying to position myself to get hired or something, which is so silly, because honestly, I was the solution to his problem. It wasn't about me trying to get him to hire me. It was really more about him saying, "Can you help me? I am drowning." And I think we get that confused. We think that it's the clients who are helping us when it's not. It's both, right? We're creating a healthy living, but we are solving a problem for them. We are solving a big problem for them. So for those of you who are trying to prospect and you're trying to figure out who needs a VA, or how you can strategically convince someone to hire you, just forget all of that and just tell everybody that you know what you're up to in a non-salesy way, and people they'll naturally gravitate to you. All right. My second client I met at the reception line, not the reception line, the buffet line of a wedding reception. So here I am holding my plate, juggling my glass of wine, making chit chat with someone. And they said it was a man and his wife, and they said, well, what kind of work do you do? And so I told him, and he gave me his card. I didn't even have a card yet. And I connected with him on LinkedIn. And a few weeks later, he was in touch with me. And that's a relationship that continues to this day. So really stop prospecting. Just tell everybody you know. Okay, good. Good. So it looks like we have Donna here. Hello from Williamsburg, Virginia. And Tori is here from South Carolina. So everybody else who's here, there's a lot of you. Let me know where you're coming in from. Okay, good. So all of this telling people completely paid off. My business, I started in 2010. I've worked with over 225 clients. The first year I was in business, I made $70,000. And for the next 10 years, I made at least $100,000 or more being a VA working from home. And here's what it looks like today. This is us. Actually, 2 years and a week ago, I got married at age 60. I mean, if you can believe that, right? I never would have dreamed that. And here we are with our kids. So it's David, Charlie, Emily, Stephen, and Andy, all right here. And life is very different now. The finances are handled. No more minimum payments, no more, getting my cell phone turned off because I'm not paying the bill. It was so chaotic and so crazy. And I had so much debt. I don't think I mentioned that a minute ago. I had 6 figures of debt, credit card debt, paying the IRS. I had back taxes. It's like what happens is at some point, when your life starts to unravel, it unravels in really big ways and ways that don't feel comfortable, and they don't even feel like you. I'd always been so organized and paid my bills on time, was like really careful about that. But when my marriage started to unravel and I had a business that was falling apart and everything just sort of swirled around, and unraveled at the same time. And it's such a relief to be able to breathe again and to be on top of my finances and to, to feel like I'm back on track. That's the main thing, to feel like I'm back on track. All right. So hello, Keisha is here from Missouri. Hello, someone's here from Texas, and Deanna is here too. Welcome, you guys. Come on in. All right, so let's talk about boundaries. Okay, boundaries are such an important thing when you're a VA, and it's really important to get this right, because when we don't get this right, we feel like we're on call 24/7, right? And I put this up here. You're not on call. This isn't the fire department. And it was kind of meant as a joke, but not really, because what happens is we think we're on call all the time. And so I want to highlight the differences between having a job and having your own business and being a VA. All right. Because this is critical. So when you have a job and you're at the office, your boss can walk over to you at any time and ask you to do something right now. Right. We've had that experience, right? The boss walks over. Now, when you have a job and you work from home, the boss can send you a message at any time and ask you to do something right now, right? I see this. Greg has a job. My husband has a job, and I'll walk, into where he's working. And when the boss pings him, messages him, whatever, he replies, right then. When you have a job, you're expected to be available for requests from your boss 9 to 5, or, whatever your hours are, Monday through Friday. And sometimes even after regular work hours, right? We've all had that. We've stayed late. We've had special requests, but now you're the boss. And so you decide what your schedule is. You decide when and for whom you're going to work, and you decide how much money you're going to make. And that is like a big eye-opening statement. Like, what? Right? Because a lot of us think that what's changed is instead of the boss, now you have all of these bosses, all of these clients, and that is not the case. Now, we are naturally helpers. And we want to keep that attitude of being in service. And so what I mean by that is that sort of, how may I help you attitude. You want to be helpful. You want to be useful, all of that. But you also want to manage your boundaries. Now this is the main headline. Okay. This is something I want you to write down. You are in charge of your boundaries, not your clients. And if you think that you're going to tell them your boundaries and then they're just going to march to your tune, that's not going to happen. It's not because they're bad people. It's because they don't remember, right? It's because they're not tracking you. They're thinking about them. It's just like, this just popped in my head, but there are stores in my town that close at certain times. And I don't remember. So I have to Google, what time does the bakery close on Tuesday? Or are they, like yesterday, we wanted to get frozen yogurt. The frozen yogurt store is not open on Sunday or Mondays, right? So it's not up to them to keep reminding me. It's up to, let me hold on. I just did that backwards. They're not going to open up because I show up, right? Someone's not going to drive up to the store and say, "Oh, Belinda wants a frozen yogurt. Let's open the doors." And it's the same way with you, right? So you need to be in charge very much in the same way that a retail store would be. Okay, so don't expect them to know, when you're working and when they're not. And here's the trap. Okay, here is the big trap. The trap is that when we start with a new client, especially when we're new to being a VA, they send us an email and we jump because we want to do it immediately, because we want to be like, it's kind of that whole good girl thing, and I know we have some men in our community too, but it's that whole idea of like, let me help you as quickly as possible because I feel like I'm probably not good at doing this and I'm really scared and I want to show you that I can do this. Like, that's probably resonating with some of you, right? So you want to make sure that you train them how you're going to respond. And this can feel so scary because we're doubting ourselves, And so I'm going to give you some guidelines, and I'm going to give you some real world examples so that you can, incorporate this into your thinking. I mean, think about it like this. Think about if you get a puppy, right? And the puppy's in the kitchen, and every night you give the puppy a little piece of whatever you're eating for dinner. And then you think, oh, I shouldn't be giving the puppy that. That's a bad habit. And then you stop. The puppy's going to be mad, right? The puppy's going to bark. The puppy's going to jump up on you. But the puppy didn't start this. You started it, okay? You started it. So you really want to think about that. So let's say hello to some other people. All right. So Maria is here from Edmonton, Alberta, and Jane is here from the UK. Heather is here. Hello from Texas. Christiane is here. Hello. And Heather, we have lots of Heathers. Heather Cardenan is here from Chattanooga. Yeah, I've noticed we have a lot of Heathers lately, and we have a lot of Stephanies. So if you're a Stephanie and you haven't signed up for VA school, you should think about that. All right, we have like kind of a trend here. We have a Stephanie Heather trend. Okay, now let's dive into what the healthy boundaries look like. Okay, so it's really simple once you accept responsibility. That's the whole key, to accept responsibility. I remember one time in one of the Kickstart Challenge trainings, someone asked a question and she said, "Where can I find better clients? My clients are terrible. They don't respect my boundaries." And I thought, oh yeah, that's how that works. So when you accept responsibility, it's a lot easier, right? Because if we're expecting someone else to be in charge of how they treat us, it's not going to go well. This is all relationships, right? This is all relationships. So Heather says her sister's name is Stephanie. That's funny. So your parents were like right on track, right? That's good. Good. Debbie says, I'm always looking for clients. We all are. That's part of our job, right? When I was a full-time VA for, 13 years, I was bringing on, actually for 11 years, I was bringing on between 1 and 3 clients every single month, every single year. That is part of the deal, because clients come, they go, they retire, they do a lot of things, right? They change their mind. All right. So the first thing I want you to remember is I'm in charge of setting and keeping my boundaries. Now, boundaries is kind of a funny word, and I don't know if that's because of my generation. Boundaries was like a big thing that was talked about, and when I say boundary, I don't mean barrier. Okay. I mean It's like a dotted line around us or a cone of white light around us. Uh, and you don't have to hold a hard line. You just have to hold the line. Okay. So here's the thing. You have to decide when you're going to work and when you're going to be available. And this has to work for your life. Now, I know a lot of us, when you have a job for a long time, the way I did, I was in corporate for 17 years. I worked when the boss wanted me to. That's what I did, and so a lot of it for us, it's going to be hard to make that decision, and keep it. All right, so I work as a Rocket Girl pretty much. I'm at my desk in the morning. I'm available for client work from 9 to about 5. Sometimes I work in the evening, but that's at my discretion. If and that's when clients are able to send me things. Now, I'm going to give you an example in a minute. Just because they send you something in that minute doesn't mean you need to jump. Okay. So let's talk about this story. Okay. So I had a client named Chris. He sent me a text message let me just think about this. He sent me an email. At 4:50 on Thursday night. I'm available till 5. And I decided not to respond to the email because the email was asking me to set up an appointment for someone with him to meet 2 weeks from today. So I decided it wasn't urgent, and I don't respond to emails in 10 seconds, right? I just don't. So I try to respond to all of them by the end of the day. And certainly he would have been among the first one that I would have answered in the morning. So that's at 4:59 or something. Then in the morning, it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. He sent me a text message to tell me about the email. And I did not respond to the text message at 7 a.m. I'm not working at 7 a.m. Now, keep in mind, let's say he was doing a product launch and his website was down. I would help him. Unless his whole life is always an emergency and he thinks I'm the fire department, right? But because I do have very respectful, nice clients who will have an emergency, and I will take care of that if I can. If I'm my daughter's school recital, I'm not leaving the room. I might text them and say, I will get back to you in 30 minutes. I'm at my daughter's recital, to just calm them down. But in this case, this was not an emergency. He was just wanted attention. So what happened was at 9 o'clock in the morning, I texted him back and said, thank you for letting me know. As soon as I get to my desk, I will respond. And that's what I did. Now, I could have done a number of things. I could have responded to him at 4:59, and then I would have been teaching him that I respond immediately, which in a non-emergency situation, I do not. And if I had answered that text message, same thing. Now, here's the key to the whole thing. I didn't get upset. I looked at that email and thought, okay, he's emailing me now. I'll email him tomorrow. When he texted me at 7 o'clock in the morning, I did not spend 20 minutes ranting about how he doesn't care about me. What I thought to myself was, okay, he's like, whatever, excited, upset, nervous, I don't know, but that doesn't change what I'm going to do, right? That doesn't change. So if you hold your boundaries, but you get your knickers in a knot, and you're stressing out about it and you're thinking about it, then you're not holding your boundary. They're running you around. So the key is to hold the boundary and teach them. Now, I'll tell you what, Chris did not end up being my client for that long, because he was running his whole life like that. And I was running my life in a certain way, which was explained to him before we started. And so the relationship ended, but that's okay, because I'm bringing on 1 to 3 new clients every month, and his work time was absorbed by someone else. So it's really important to not twist yourself around, because I got to tell you, my life would be very different if I'm up at the crack of dawn, late at night, he's texting me, he's doing all this stuff, and it's going to be disruptive, and I'm going to be unhappy. And I don't want to be unhappy. I'm doing this as part of my be happy situation, right? Solution. I'm just Okay, so Keisha, well, I'm going to come back to that in a second, Keisha. So Keisha has a comment. Bring that to study hall because we'll talk about that today. Okay, Keisha's a VA school student. So the thing is that instead of the boss walking around, when you manage your boundaries, I get emails that sound like this. I got one last night. Sarah emailed me and she said, "Hi, I'd like to publish my newsletter on Thursday. If I get it to you tomorrow by 5, would that work with your schedule?" And then she said, "If we need to publish on Friday, that's okay too." I emailed her back and I said, a couple hours later, because that's when it fit into my day, I that works with my schedule. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'll look forward to getting the newsletter tomorrow at whatever time. So very simply, now if I had plans, because sometimes Sarah will send me something at the last minute, and on the summer on Wednesday I go to a free concert in my town with my husband. So if she wanted me to do it then, I would say and the concert's at 7:30 at night, right? So that's my time. So I would say, I'm not able to handle that today. However, I can fit it in tomorrow at 10 a.m. and we can still meet your deadline, or I can fit it in at 10 a.m. and we can publish the next day. So it's not really a negotiation; it's a conversation, right? Because we respect each other. And she respects my boundaries because I am really clear about them in a non-emotional way. I don't say, "Well, I never get time with my husband and I'm going to do this and I can't believe blah, 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 blah." I just say, "I'm not available." Right. And if for those of you who've been around me for a while and then I stop talking, she doesn't need to know. Right. She doesn't need to know. So every client is not going to be this organized, where they're telling you ahead of time. But either way, you are in charge of your schedule, not them, not them. So I want you to think about how to set yourself up for success from the beginning so that you can have the lifestyle that you want, right? And if I can manage 52 clients at one time and keep my boundaries, you can too. You just have to really start off from the beginning. Now, I have had clients where I did not hold my boundaries and I literally felt held hostage. I felt held hostage by them. And a lot of it was, you know, my self esteem was suffering. I felt like I had to jump through these hoops. I needed the money. And yeah, yes, I get all of that. And you can have both. You can definitely have both. Okay. So remember this because this is the lifestyle that you want. Yeah, so I'm going to just jump over to Keisha's question real quick. I worked from age 17 to 28. Then I met my husband and was able to stay at home. The past couple of years, I've had a terrible time finding my own routine and schedule. Yes, Keisha, that is a thing. So one of the things I'll invite you to do is bring that question to VA school this week, and we can talk about that. And please help me remember. The other is there's an article over on the blog at the VA Connection, and it's put the word routine in the search. And I recently wrote an article about that, and this is a perfect topic for study hall. So the thing about routines is that life changes a lot. So I had a routine of bringing my daughter to school, and when we lived in Boston, I walked her there, and then my day started in a certain way, and then she got her driver's license, and then I didn't really need to get up, and then she went to college, and and so I had to put triggers into my schedule in order to create that routine. And now Greg and I are empty nesters, so it's just us together at home. But I definitely have triggers in my routine, like lunch, a walk, things like that keep me in place because I'm much better with routines. I'm much more productive. My mind is calmer. So check that article out and we'll explore that later today. All right. Good. Okay. So just in case you missed our Kickstart Your VA Business Challenge training that we did. When did we start that? That started in August. Earlier this month. We're going to do it again in about a month. Okay. So if you're thinking about, well, it's a number of things. If you're thinking about this wanting to get a steady stream of clients, we're definitely going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the services you can offer. We're going to talk about how to talk about your work in a clear, simple way. And this is at the core of how to get clients. When someone asks us what we do and we start blathering and giving all these stories about corporate and this and standing on your head, and like nobody knows what you're talking about, and they stop listening. So on day 2 of this training, we talk specifically about exactly what to say. The third day, we talk about how to have clients come to you. And that is how it works. I don't go out looking for clients, and it's not because I've been doing this for 13 years, and it's not because I'm making a 6-figure income. It's how I started doing it when I didn't have any money and when I didn't have any clients. And it's the way that works. And that's what I teach you on the third day of the training. And then on the fourth day of the training, we're going to talk about all the support systems you need, like time tracking, note taking, file management, all of that. And then I'm going to open doors to VA school. So if some of you were thinking next time, well, that's coming right up. All right. It's coming up the week of September 18th. So put it on your calendar. And then on Friday, we're going to have epic Q&A. The Q&A last time lasted 1 hour and 56 minutes. So just short of 2 hours. So if you have questions, definitely come to that, and I'll answer them. So you can sign up for that at vakickstart.com. Go right on over there. There's a sign up page with all the details. There's lots of resources there. And be sure to join the Facebook group. There's a Facebook group that accompanies this training where there is all kinds of action. We post every single day. We answer your questions. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Okay, guys. Thank you for coming thank you for coming today to Lessons from the Cockpit. We live stream every Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and I really enjoy these sessions. So get them on your calendar as a regular part of business development, learning how to make your VA business work. And I'll see you next week. All right. Bye for now.